One final Pac-12 football game marks the end of a storied conference. As Dennis Erickson strolled out of Reser Stadium on a chilly Saturday evening in November, it finally hit him. This was the end. Erickson grew up watching Pac-12 football. He patrolled the conference's sidelines for 15 years as a coach, including 4 at Oregon State. He relished the rivalries, treasured the traditions, cherished the West Coast's unique brand of football that occupied a special place in my heart. So after he watched the Beavers dismantle Stanford last month, after he cruised Beaver Street at a newly remodeled stadium he indirectly helped build, Erickson took a moment as he walked away to privately acknowledge the end of more than a century of history. "I'm really having trouble with the whole thing, with the direction of college football," Erickson said. "It really upsets me what's going on, and I thought a lot about it after the game. I'm bewildered with everything that's going on. It's just really sad." Erickson sort of speaks for all of us today, a day that will be remembered as the end of Pac-12 conference football. We should be celebrating one of the most entertaining and successful seasons in conference history, which will culminate Friday night with a championship game that includes college football playoff implications, Heisman Trophy stakes, and Northwest bragging rights. But it's difficult to celebrate death, and, in a way, Friday night's rematch between the number 3 Washington Huskies and number 5 Oregon Ducks is a kind of funeral. For a conference. For a slice of college football history. For generations of football fans. There's a reason Ted Robinson, the longtime play-by-play voice of the Pac-12 networks, has pulled out a bottle of Jameson whiskey every Friday night this season and shared a toast with his crew. It was his version of an Irish wake, one last party to honor the deceased. When you change a team's affiliation, when you change their rivals, when you alter the course of their histories, it changes everything about it, said Mike Bellotti, who grew up watching games in Strawberry Canyon before becoming the winningest coach in Oregon history. This chapter of the book is closed. The individual schools are still here and they will continue to play. But the Pac-12 is gone, and to see it go away in this manner is just a really sad thing. I have a strong appreciation for my involvement and participation in the conference. But it doesn't really matter much going forward. The Pac-12 was born in Portland on December 2, 1915, when officials from 4 schools, Oregon State, then called Oregon Agricultural College, Cal, and Washington, gathered at the Imperial Hotel and decided to form an athletic conference. The Pacific Coast Conference played games the following year and, before long, it swelled to 10 teams, as Washington State, Stanford, USC, and UCLA, among others, joined the fray. By 1968, it settled into an 8-team conference dubbed the Pac-8. By 1978, when Arizona and Arizona State joined, it became the Pac-10, and by 2011, when Utah and Colorado became members, it formed its final iteration, the Pac-12. Along the way, it hosted some of the most iconic players and teams in college football history, spawned generations of loyal fans, and won more national championships than any other conference. There was Tailback U and the Giant Killers. There was the Big Game, the Apple Cup, and the Victory Bell. There was Jim Plunkett and John Elway, Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer, Marcus Mariota and Terry Baker, O.J. Simpson and Marcus Allen. There was Pat Tillman. There was Keith Jackson and the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, and, more recently, those unfathomable moments that only occurred after dark. It feels weird to write about everything in the past tense. But when we wake up Saturday morning, The only thing left of 108 years of football will be memories about what once was. It would be easy to dismiss the demise of a conference, to wave your hand at the silliness of mourning a sport. This isn't really life and death, after all. Times change. Things evolve. People move on. Especially in sports. Just ask the Big East and the Southwest conferences, or the dozens of others that have faded into time capsules over the years. But the Pac-12 was different because of how long it thrived and what it has meant to generations of football fans on the West Coast, to kids who grew up loving the Ducks and Bruins and Huskies, dreaming about going to the Rose Bowl, only to, later in life, spread that love to their kids and grandkids. You'd go with your dad and maybe your granddad to watch a game, and they would have all this history to tell you about, said Todd McKim, who was a college roommate of UCLA basketball players in the 1970s before embarking on a lengthy broadcast career that included stops in Eugene and Berkeley.